Welcome to Davie County's Voice, a podcast produced by the Davie Community Foundation, where we sit down with leaders, neighbors, and community members who are shaping the future of Davie County and working every day to make our community stronger. Well, hello. We're here today with Alyse Wooldridge and David Koontz from the Davie County School System. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me what you do with Davie County Schools.
So I am the Career Development Coordinator at Davie County High School, and I work with students to develop a plan for after high school, to talk to them about what opportunities they can take during high school to get ready for after high school.
Okay. How about you, David?
And my name is David Koontz. I serve as the Director of Career and Technical Education for Davie County Schools and also Federal Programs Director.
Okay, there's a lot of words there. So tell me what do you do? How do you connect those young people? What do you do to get them connected?
So I think the biggest part of being a career and technical education director, which probably a lot of our folks that may have attended high school back in the 90s and the 80s probably thought of it as vocational education.
Okay.
Obviously, a lot has changed since then, but essentially what I do is we provide our students with elective courses at our middle schools and high school to start that career exploration foundation at the middle school level. And then at the high school level, it's more focused where we have specific pathways that students can explore and continue in and hopefully become a pathway concentrator that leads to a potential career or whatever they're interested in post-secondary planning. So,
sounds like we're going to be diving into a lot of things. So what I'm going to do is I've got some questions, and we're just going to work through them, go back and forth, whichever one, I'll take it, you take it, that works for me. When you think about students graduating high school today, what are the biggest opportunities in front of them?
So I think with students graduating from Davie County High School or the early college in Davie County is that there are so many different opportunities. With Ignite Davie, they have opportunities to attend Davidson Davie Community College. They have a program at Forsyth Tech if DDCC does not have it. So there's that segue into the next step for them through Ignite Davie. There's also your opportunities to go directly into the workforce, directly into the military, continue on at a four-year university. There's just so many different opportunities and different ways to get to those opportunities. And Davie County students are very fortunate.
Yeah, and to be able, like you mentioned, those different ways to get there and the variety of the ways that you could get there with. So, all right, what does a career pathway really mean? And how should students think about it?
well, I guess the first thing that comes to mind when you're thinking about a career pathway is that obviously it includes courses or taking courses that are geared towards equipping a student to go into that particular field. So, for us in Davie County Schools and really across the state, something that's relatively new is the implementation of developing career development plans for our students. It starts as early as, I believe, 6th or 7th grade is when our students begin to do different inventories as far as things that they may or may not be interested in. It taps into kind of identifying how students learn. It also identifies some other key characteristics that can really help a lot of our kids with, because let's face it, we know a lot of our high school students may not know what they want to do in 9th grade, and that's okay. And I think that's important to tell our students and our parents. But we do have a middle school career development coordinator as well that works close in hand with Alyse to begin that process. And now we're starting to move to the transition of those students are now freshmen and will soon be sophomores next year. But now we're starting to go back and review those career development plans, reevaluate where they're at, they could have changed their mind, but ultimately identify the courses that align with those specific interests, and then kind of guide them on, hey, you could take some of these courses that we offer here, or maybe there would be some courses that are offered at Davidson-Davie Community College, or other areas that could help prepare them for that career of choice. And then, if it involves post-secondary planning, I think the key there is to take advantage of that time during high school, kind of going back to that first question, and making sure that they're earning all the things that they can possibly can to be as well prepped and ready to go once they graduate high school.
And I think of being a student, if there's something I'm really interested in, and then being able to take courses around that, I'm going to be at school more. I'm going to be more attentive. I'm going to engage. I want to be better. So I think that's a wonderful way of engaging students at a much different level. Instead of, you got to do A, B, C. We don't care. Here's A, B, and C. Do it. And I also know there's things they will have to do that maybe aren't quite as good, or they may not enjoy as much. But it's that I get to do those fun things, those things that really make me happy. So kudos to that. That says a lot about our school system. What are some options students may not realize are available beyond a 4-year college degree?
So as I work with students, I really try to figure out what they're interested in. So I think depending on the student, you look at different options for them beyond a 4-year degree. I was working with a student this morning, actually, who's interested in becoming a vet. So we were looking at all the options she could do. She's already taken advantage of the Career and College Promise classes, so she's getting some of her transfer credits out of the way as a junior and senior. But then we looked at, okay, you could finish out those transfer credits with Ignite Davie, then you could apply to this school and get an undergrad in animal science, and then you could apply to NC State and get go to vet school there. So I think it really depends on the individual student. Some students may want to do an apprenticeship, so that's different than a 4-year degree. They're going ahead and starting working, but also getting the training and education they need while working. So there's a lot of opportunities, but I think it always depends on the individual student that you're working with to be able to really hone into what they're interested in to find those opportunities for them.
Wow, that's pretty cool that each of those students has their own path, individual path, not a set path. That's amazing. So.
And I think I want to add to that question that, we're big. We talk about this a lot, that the more hands-on opportunities, like we feel like if our students get to see things in action. We actually took a group of, we took 5 young men over to Energy United last week. There was a lineman event to get a firsthand view, experience, climbing poles, all this stuff that got them more in tune with, okay, what does this job actually do? Like, what does it look like? How does it work? And so I think those types of experiences, and a lot of these things are advertised at the schools for our students to be interested in. And so I think anytime that they get to do what we call work-based learning opportunities, whether it's a job shadow, whether it's the apprenticeship that Alyse talked about, or internship, or even just a field trip, that was what that was last week, to go and see, those are really important for students.
That's really neat. How can schools, employers, and the community work together to better support our students?
So we really rely on our business partners for many things. For one, for input and feedback into how we can improve or evolve our career and technical education programs. So on a semi-annual basis, we have a business advisory council meeting at the high school in the fall and in the spring. It actually is this coming Thursday, or the spring is, excuse me. But those meetings, we cover various topics, but really we just want to provide a quick update of how things are going in Davie County as far as our career and technical education programs, but then also provide an opportunity for them to give us feedback. For example, we might talk about some of the industry credentials that our students have the opportunity to earn while they're in high school, and then maybe see if there's other credentials that we need to be offering. We've also really relied on them to get some feedback on potentially adding other pathways that we may not be offering already. Here recently, we learned the urgency of adding a early childhood education program because of the need for childcare. So I think the more we can get those folks involved, and coming in and realizing that their feedback and information and their expertise in their different fields is very important to us. And that's also a part of some of the requirements that we have because we receive state and federal funding. And so those folks are key stakeholders in that whole process of improving or providing a quality, well-rounded quality CTE program.
Wow. All right. What are some of the common misconceptions that students and families may have around career pathways?
I think sometimes, particularly parents, think, okay, my child can only be successful if they go to a four-year university. There are so many different pathways that lead to very high-paying careers that maybe aren't a four-year pathway, maybe an apprenticeship or something like that. So I think that's a big misconception from parents, is that you have to go the four-year route. There are lots of opportunities in Davie County that do not require a four-year pathway, where students can stay here and give back to our community and take advantage of the opportunities our community has created for them. So I think that's probably the biggest misconception, is that it has to be a four-year degree.
And I think, too, as I was talking a few minutes ago about, when you think about 10, 15, 20 years ago, the vocational education classes, that really has changed. And, now we have quite a list of courses in career and technical education that are actually honors level courses. So these are not standard classes. I mean, these students are learning some really high technical information that either they articulate to credit at a community college, but I think the fact that the types of skills and things that students are covering, the fact that they're earning those credentials that used to not be available to students, and I think the state has really focused, they provide the financial support for us to offer those credentials, and we believe in providing those to our students. In fact, we have a goal that every student's going to earn at least one credential before they graduate. And so I think those types of things are really important, because I think a lot of parents think that high school may still be like it was when they were in high school.
Yeah.
And so I think the more that we can get our stories out to our parents and to our community that these courses are very specialized. We have an outstanding faculty that provides the instruction for our students, and then the types of skills and things that they can take away can really be impactful to their future. So,
You mentioned credentials, both of you, a couple times. Can you tell what advantages those credentials give our young people, especially as they're graduating school, and maybe if there's any other benefits to it?
So when I go into English classes and I present to the students, and we go through their career development plans and we update their credentials every semester, because as they take CTE classes, they get more and more credentials. And so I explain to them that, yes, it's a test you take while you're in high school for that class, but it really does mean something outside the school, that in the real world, it's proof of a skill. And that when you want to list those on your resume so that you show that you're proficient in AutoCAD or whatever you have credentialed in, that it shows that employer, oh, I don't have to train them on that. They're a step ahead of someone else that doesn't have that. So it's proof that they have that skill. I've worked with students over the past couple of years. There's a student who's a current freshman at NC State, and when we were going through everything last year, he was getting points on scholarships because he had credentials. I think he was able to bypass one of his classes because he had the credential. So I go through and explain all those benefits to the student, that it does help them stand out in ways that will help them right now in high school get the grade or possibly get exempt from the exam, because some of our CT classes, if there's a credential, then that's their exam basically. And that it could help them get a part-time job right now. So with our students with Serve Safe, if they're working in the food industries, that could help them make a little bit more money right now. But then it could be some college credit, could be some scholarships, that it could lead into a full-time job. So credentials are a huge opportunity for them.
Wow, and the opportunity that they're able to get that now instead of, like you said, waiting till you're in college or in community college to even start thinking about that. So that's really cool.
And I also like to tell them that it's free.
Say that again.
That's free.
Free. Yes. Parents, if you're paying attention, they just said free.
Yeah, we provide the funding to offer those credentials, and oftentimes, students, they get a second chance to earn that credential, and we realize that, we do have some really high goals for our students, and even if a student doesn't earn a credential, at least they had that opportunity to try, because again, we want to provide that opportunity to all our students. So.
Yeah, and you don't know what you don't know, right?
Right.
So, and it might be something that you got into and you're like, I really thought I was going to enjoy that, but that's really not my thing. But I really like this over here now. Can I go after that credential? So y'all got, it sounds like a lot of flexibility in it too.
For sure.
What advice would you give a student trying to figure out their next steps after high school? You notice the pause.
Well, when you're working with students individually, you need to look and see what they're interested in. So I think that's a hard question to answer very broadly. But working with the student individually, figuring out what their interests are, they may really love hands-on things. So you may show different opportunities in the trades. You may show maybe they're really, really good at writing. So you look at a different way. Our students take a personality and a learning styles assessment, and so we're able to look at their Holland codes and give suggestions based on those assessments that they take, and then just find out what they like and maybe what they don't like, because what you don't like can be more important than what you do like, trying to figure out next steps. And as I work with students, I just kind of present all different opportunities and suggest job shadowing. So they can go see what it is like to be in the day of a nurse or a vet or a plumber, whatever that may be. And then once they get some experience and see maybe what they're interested in, then we really look at what could be the next steps for them.
We've talked a lot about students, and we'll continue to talk about them, but what are some of the skills that our employers are looking for right now?
Well, I believe that was one of the topics that we've covered in a previous, actually. I think it comes up probably just about every Business Advisory Council meeting, or if we're at a chamber meeting. The one thing that we hear oftentimes is soft skills, coming to work on time, showing up to work. And I know, from the surface, those types of things sound simple, but they are really things that we try to integrate, I think is a good word to use, into our courses. And a lot of times they're sort of natural in the types of instruction that our students are earning in those courses. And so I think the more we can emphasize, why it's important to, be on time, show to work on time, know when and when not to use your cell phone, those types of things. Because I think a lot of our employers, a lot of times, if there's a student, if there's a particular skill or something specific to that craft, they're willing to provide that oftentimes for a potential employee.
Wow.
And so I think oftentimes they really rely on us to just kind of prep and get these potential employees ready for them, so that they're valuable employees, and contributors to their, because if they're really making an investment when they're
Yeah.
allowing these students to come in, and so I think the more we can continue to do those things, and I'd be the first to say it's easier said than done.
Always.
But I will say that I do feel confident in that we try to focus on that and talk about the importance of why those things are so critical for not only gaining employment, but sustaining employment and working your way up. I think that says a lot about the future of an employee when they get on. It's their reliability and what things that they're willing to do, being humble, being willing to learn, and realizing that they don't know everything. I think that was another thing that I heard from our business partners is, it's okay to be admitting that you don't know everything, but the willingness to learn and pick up new things is really key as well.
Yeah, and in through life, that's what it's all about. You learning and evolving and continuing to grow.
For sure.
What barriers do students face in accessing career opportunities? What are some of those things y'all have seen?
So I am the internship coordinator as well, and a barrier that we constantly face is 18. So our students, they may turn 18 early in the fall of their senior year. It may be late. Like my birthday's in May, so didn't turn 18 till almost the end of school. So as far as finding employment through an internship, that can sometimes be a barrier. But we've had some companies that have really thought outside the box and they've worked around it, where our students don't actually go on the floor of an industry. They stay in an office area, or if they do go on the floor, they're accompanied by an adult. So there's ways to get around it, but I think sometimes our industries, they kind of get shut down by the top people saying, no, our insurance won't cover that, where we do have insurance on our students for internships. So I think age is definitely a barrier for them currently in high school. Transportation can also be a barrier for our students.
I can imagine.
If they are depending on Davie County Schools transportation, buses in the morning and in the afternoon, then they can't get to a job. And so that's always a tough thing when you have a student who needs to work, but they don't have transportation to get there. So those are the two biggest barriers I can think of right now for a student in high school trying to find work. And then those barriers can still happen outside of high school with transportation as well. So,
Great point. All right, we'll transition a little bit. How can parents better support their children in our school environment or opportunities like these career pathways?
I think, and we were talking about this a little while ago, I think on our end, just getting our story out and providing parents with as much information as possible. I think that's our role, but I do think this is two ways because, we welcome questions from our parents. We do several events. I think probably the biggest one is the Explore Davie event that typically happens in the early spring before registration, that allows our parents to come in, see the school, tour the school, see the different programs, talk with our teachers, and that's typically we do a huge emphasis on our incoming freshmen, but that's also open to any parent, any grade level. And so I think when we did something last year, or we started it last year, I should say, where Ms. Wooldridge and I had done a special session for parents. We ended up having to do it multiple times because it was just so well received. And I just remember a couple of parents coming up saying, thank you, this was so informative. We had no idea that some of these opportunities were available for our students. So I think to get down to actually answering the question, taking advantage of those different nights that we have, or even reaching out to us to ask questions, because we'll be glad to answer that and try to provide that guidance and answer any questions they may have for their child as far as picking or choosing a course or pathway to go. I think that's probably the best thing to do.
So lots of engagement opportunities y'all are providing, question and answers. I keep going back to engaged. Just stay
Yeah.
engaged with what's going on. Take advantage of opportunities that the school's providing for the parents to see what's going on and to see what their kids are doing. So,
For sure.
all right, what does success look like for these types of pathways?
Well, I think again it's wide, it's a wide range because to me success for a student is no matter what the post-secondary option is. I think we've gotten to a point in our society where we realize that not every student's going to go to a 4-year college, and that's okay.
Yeah,
There
agreed.
there are multiple, I like to call it multiple pathway or exit points, so to speak, on once the first goal is to get to graduate high
Yeah.
school. That's goal number one. I think we see a lot of our CTE concentrators. Our graduation rate for a student that has gone through a pathway is a little over 99%.
Congratulations.
That's
Great job.
and I think that's a testament to, again, our staff, our faculty,
Yeah.
but then also the value and how CTE does motivate our students to go, and move on to bigger things, whatever career choice that is. But I think success would mean providing them with whatever is necessary for the next step, whether that's going straight into the workforce, trying to provide them an opportunity to get additional credit so that whatever the cost may be for post-secondary, it's reduced. I think there's opportunities there to save a huge investment on their post-secondary education with the opportunities we have with Ignite Davie, CCP courses, articulation credits, college credits that they can earn in high school, and then just what the next steps are, because I think oftentimes some students and the parents may not understand what education is required for a specific career. And when they know that and can make a plan as early as possible, that to me is a success in getting them to that next stage in their life. And I think that's where we've been talking about, okay, how can we make these career development plans impactful for our students so that they can get from point A to point B. That's the key there. So
Transitioning to success.
yes.
Wow. That's really neat, and especially when you were talking about the parent piece, or that there's going to be these additional courses if they're going to get to the next tier. There may be more post-secondary education that's going to be, and what's it going to cost a family? How are we going to get there? Yeah, and like you said, the earlier the better. I have 5 kids, so if I can find that out in middle school, yes, then I've got a better chance to, that we're getting to help that opportunity for success. So that's
again,
really cool.
And there may be some surprises as, wow, this is even more obtainable. I think the more we keep hearing about Ignite Davie, but we've realized that there are some folks in our community that may not be aware of how that program works, and so the more we can get that out to our students, and they're realizing, wow, you mean that this could save me? I think that is a key piece to that.
Definitely.
And that leads to that credential piece. And I can't remember the statistic, but I just know that if a student earns a post-secondary credential, the likelihood of their children potentially going and earning goes up dramatically. And so I think the more we can do that, the better our community is going to be.
Yeah, you're changing the next generation.
Correct.
Just
Correct.
by that type of certification.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's cool. We may have touched on this, but what trends are shaping the future workforce? Is that more hands-on, or is it more just throwing some ideas out there? Is it more AI generated? Is it more, I don't know. Y'all are in this workforce every day, but what are some of those things that are just kind of like, 5 years ago, we wouldn't have been talking about this. Or we weren't talking about this.
I do feel like there is a push on trades right now.
Okay.
That we know that we have a lot of that workforce starting to retire. And so I think there is an emphasis on students doing more hands-on with trades. So there's lots of statistics out there that say if you go into a trade, you can make X amount of dollars, whatever. So I do think that there's a push there. But also with technology evolving, there's also a push with robotics and mechatronics, specifically in Davie County with all of our advanced manufacturing. So I think there's different trends that are happening just to meet what our community needs right now.
Yeah.
I think another trend that we're seeing is I know the logistics industry is grown by leaps and bounds. And I think trying to figure out how to potentially incorporate that is one thing that we begin to look into. And I think another thing is that it seems like these employers are more anxious to get workers in the quicker than and wanting to get them on board. And I think that's why we're seeing an increase in our work-based learning opportunities for our students. They're contacting us, I would venture to say, on a regular basis to take advantage of the internship program that we have at the high school. And so, which is a good thing. It's just, meeting those demands and then trying to get kids connected with those. I think that's another trend that we're seeing. And these trends are continuing to change and evolve, but I think we kind of rely on, again, business partners to give us some evolving trends that we may not be aware of and some needs that they're going to have.
Yeah.
And I think that's important too for us to be listening to them as well. So,
What is one thing that every student should know before graduating? This is just general. It may apply to this in general, or just what is that one thing you think the student should know?
I think I would say that the likelihood of them having the same job for their whole working career is I'd say would be very low. I think we're seeing now that, students start, I think one, understanding that there's a starting point in every career. The chances of getting a six-figure job right off the bat, that just doesn't happen very often.
Nope.
But knowing that, it gets started somewhere, but continue to be a lifelong learner, you're going to probably have a wide range of careers within that. But I think that would be my answer to that is that it's a very good likelihood that you're going to have multiple types of jobs in that same related career field throughout your working life, so to speak.
How about you?
So I think students need to know, specifically in Davie County, that if they want to continue their education to meet their goal, there are lots of different ways. And every student in Davie County should be able to get some form of education for free, through an apprenticeship, through Ignite Davie, through CCP. So for them to know that there's nothing that should hold them back when it comes to that. If they have a goal, there are options and pathways that they can get to that goal. I just think that's impactful for our students to know that.
Wow. Good, wise wisdom here. So a couple more questions. What would success look like in 5 to 10 years if we get this right in Davie County?
I think we're already seeing the numbers trend on students that are continuing post-secondary school.
Okay.
That they're taking advantage of Ignite Davie. So I think seeing those numbers continue to rise, our unemployment rate decrease would show that. Just seeing those numbers trend in those areas, I think would show success with data. Keeping kids here and they come back or they stay here as an adults and raise their families. I think that shows that we're successful.
Definitely.
And I think we've already started to see the trends in the My Future NC data where our community college enrollment is starting to go up. an increase. And I think probably several factors have contributed to that. I think one of them being Ignite Davie for sure. But I think too is really tapping into those pathways that we have that are related or a continuation of pathways that we're already offering at the high school. And so I think the more we can do that and encourage because we're having a lot of students that start at Davidson-Davie, whether they're getting those basic courses to move on to a four-year college or just continuing and getting that certificate, that industry credential. Yep. I think either way, that's a great opportunity, one, to save money, but then two, knowing that is an option and it may not take as long as they think. And so I think if we continue to see that number grow, then I think that would be another key indicator that our success is increasing and our students are moving on to some really wonderful opportunities.
Wow. So, all right, last question. We've talked about partners, we've talked about parents, we've talked about businesses. If any of them have questions or want to get connected for internships or apprenticeships or to ask a question about a career path, how do they get in touch with y'all?
I always tell students the easiest way to get in touch with me is by my email because I'm all over all the time. So if they just want to send me an email, it's wooldridge@davie.k12.nc.us. That's the easiest way to get in contact with me. And I'm happy to meet with parents and students and really look at that career development plan and map out all the opportunities and all the different pathways to get to that goal.
And I would say in talking about our middle school, because this starts in middle school.
It does.
We have CTE courses in middle school, and we do career exploration activities. We've actually got an event coming up in a couple of weeks, the Career Expo, or Career on Wheels, where we're going to have different businesses, or we've invited folks to come out, set up a place there in the parking lot for our students. This is our middle school students to come through, see those things. Stephanie Morris is our middle school career development coordinator, and maybe we can get some contact information to tie in with this podcast. And then as far as they can reach out to me, david.koontz@davie.k12.nc.us. We'd love folks to join us at our business advisory meetings. Again, we do one in the fall and in the spring to learn more about that. And we're always, accessible. Phone call or just come by and see us sometime. We're very we always love to talk with folks. We do tours at the high school as well. We've done
Take advantage of that.
Yeah, we've done several tours. People come in and see the programs that we offer. I think that's really good for folks to do as well, because a lot of times we'll have people that come through and they're just really, they had no idea. They're pleasantly surprised. And then oftentimes they're wanting to know how they can get involved. Like, hey, we really believe in what you guys are doing, seeing it firsthand. And so I think that's another way that folks can connect too.
Well, we've heard a lot today. I would encourage our community to continue to lean into our school system and all that they do. I want to thank you both so very much for being here with us, and look forward to seeing you at our next podcast. Thank you for spending time with us on Davie County's Voice. We hope today's conversation inspired you and helped you learn more about the people and ideas making Davie County stronger. Be sure to check back every second and fourth Thursday of the month for a new episode. And to learn more about the Davie Community Foundation, visit daviefoundation.org.